I'm your host, Alex. I'm going to bring you more cinema-related competition. Today, our first CINEMAWARS of Season 3. The prompt being, what is the best movie thus far of 2022? We have 3 competitors today to debate that prompt, and we will get one definitive, objective answer to the question that I just said. 2022 thus far has been a great year for movies. We have a great slate of releases upcoming. For now, we're going to debate what is the best movie that has been released thus far. The 3 competitors in this match being, representing the Watchers, McNeil Mullican, the current CINEMAWARS champion. McNeil?
Hey, how's it going, Alex?
Representing the 5 Angry Men, Jacob, the Package Cunningham. Jacob?
How's it going, brothers? Excited to be back in this division. Hopefully I can prove the Battle Royale wasn't a fluke.
The former champion, I have a feeling he has some things cooking. It is the chef himself, Nikita.
We got the things cooking. Yeah, the rats are working their magic.
And again, guys, if you are new to the League of Cinephiles, make sure you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below on your thoughts on this question, as well as your thoughts on the debates from these 3 amazing competitors. Now, gentlemen, let's get to the rules for this matchup today. There will be 3 rounds: the opening statement, the rebuttals, and the closing statement. There will be a cinema-related prompt in which competitors must find an answer for. A wheel will be spun to determine who will pick their answer first. Competitors will argue on behalf of their answer and will debate against the other competitors. And the judges, myself and another judge, will grade each competitor out of 5 points for each round. The competitor with the most points at the end of the match will be declared the winner. Now, let's get to that wheel, shall we, to see who will get to pick their answer first. And it has a spin. The spin again slice is back. It's become a staple of the wheel. Not that I've chosen it, but it is there and I cannot remove it. So let's see who will get to pick their answer first. Opponent's choice, perhaps. And but it looks like it's going to be Jacob who's going to get to pick his answer first. Jacob, 1 minute on the clock for your opening statement.
Okay. The film I've chosen is Everything Everywhere All at Once. So maybe up against it, because I'm against 2 other people who maybe weren't as huge on it, but I don't want my whole argument to rest on the objective facts of it being the best reviewed film of the year, so I'll get that out of the way straight away. It's A24's highest grossing film. It's appealing to just about everybody. It's in the top 10 best reviewed films ever on Letterboxd, and it really has become a cultural phenomenon. But beyond that, it is just an incredible film that encompasses so many different genres, so many different societal issues and personal issues, and I think there's a universality to it, or a multiversality to it, that everyone is going to be able to relate to. Firstly, about representation and generational trauma. It's about an Asian immigrant family trying their best to make it in America. And it's about it's not character archetypes. It's not just a tiger mom and a smart kid. It's like these characters are fully realized human beings who are funny. They're sad, you know, they're struggling with financial problems.
So let's now readjust the wheel and let's see who will go second now.
Where's the spin again?
Only 2 options, so I wonder what's gonna be. Oh, it's actually
Stop it. Yes, sir.
Nikita.
Okay, the movie I've chosen is Top Gun Maverick. Even though it's not my favorite movie of the year, it is, I think, the best movie because it's the most accessible of everything that has come out. It has brought the audiences back to the cinema for something that is not a superhero movie or a Star Wars movie or any franchise movie, large franchise. And it works spectacularly despite being 36 years after the original, which I think is definitely substandard compared to this one. Action is great, it's practical effects, but the biggest selling point of this film is Tom Cruise, his infinite passion and dedication to the movies that he makes. And here he has matured from his previous role. He has all these films behind his shoulders, and he brings it on display. He motivates you, he inspires people, and he wants to be a hero when he can. All
right, so I'm going to go with the Batman, and I think that Batman is obviously a character that sells more than a lot of franchises out there, and it has remained one of the biggest pop culture icons in cinema history. And I think the thing that this movie does right and better than any other Batman movie is that it really hones in on the fact that Batman is a detective. It gave us that type of Batman story we've been looking for decades. Even though The Dark Knight is a movie that, you know, really focuses on the crime aspect, this one really goes into the detective aspect of Batman, and I think that's something that is highlighted really well in this movie. In addition, a lot of the technical aspects work really well. Matt Reeves' style for the movie is awesome, and it really fits the city of Gotham better than a lot of the other iterations previously. It's a movie that has become an instant pop culture staple already, and I think it's going to be a movie that is not just defined by 2022 like maybe some of these other movies that have come out so far, but a movie that is defined as a pop culture icon.
So those are going to be the openings. Now myself and the judge is going to reconvene for a sec so we can have the scores thus far for this round. Jacob, we really liked your argument. I think out of the three, you seem the most personally, more personally connected to your film. Nikita, we liked your argument as well. However, we weren't so as much convinced about your commentary on the box office performance. And then McNeil, we liked yours as well about the detective aspect of Batman, about what you said about that. So the scores thus far are Jacob in the lead with 8.1, McNeil at 7.3, and Nikita at 6.9. These are the two combined scores between myself and the other judge. Now let's get to the second round, this round being the rebuttal stage, the most exciting stage. So good luck, gentlemen.
I don't think box office is huge, because also box office is relative, because my film's a lot smaller than your guys' films, and Everything Everywhere. All three of these films basically made 4 times their budget, roughly, if you look at it. So
Yeah,
I think it's more to look at the critical reception. And again, they've all been really critically well received, but Everything Everywhere is the one that people are talking about as a major Oscar contender at the end of the year. The Batman, maybe a couple techs, Top Gun, some techs, maybe a sneaky Best Picture nomination, who knows? But my thing with Top Gun is I think it's 1/3 of a great film, in that 45 minutes are like transcendent, incredible, some of the best action filmmaking out. But then everything that leads up to it is just like good. It's like, it's decent escapism, but all of the characters are kind of archetypes that we've already seen in the first one. The romance with Jennifer Connelly is really underwritten, and a lot of it just feels like it's ticking off boxes to refer to things from the first one. The action, when it's there, is amazing, but really you're there for that last 40 minutes.
Okay, so since it's my movie being discussed, so I think what is actually nice about it is that the archetypes are carried over. Is that it's one of these old school films done in the modern setting with the modern effects, with the modern action and sound, music, whatever you like. And this is what's missing nowadays, like proper action without any nonsense in it. And that's what Top Gun is. And yes, 100% you're right. And I agree with you. The last section is spectacular, and that's the whole meat of the film. But at the same time, the progression of it all, like you can see how Tom Cruise motivates them, how he builds their confidence, and which is something I could not even see in the first part. The beginning also does the character building, the development, the connection, and it has this easygoing feel about it, whether they play this weird double ball football game on the beach. It adds to that. For the Everything Everywhere All at Once, I think for me, it's the film of, let's say, a third lacking, because by the time I get past the 1 hour mark, like I've seen it all, like any of this weirdness is just weirdness for the sake of weirdness. As McNeil mentioned in our discussion, the rocks, I think people call it poetic. I'd call it pretentious rocks. I mean, okay, it's maybe nice as a gag for 10 seconds, but they spent, I think, 5 minutes on it. And there's a lot of that, like by the 5th reveal or 4th reveal, you don't really care about it anymore. It's just one thing and then the next thing, and it's like plug in, recycle in a blender, have another sip.
So with Everything Everywhere All at Once, I think the thing that stands out with that one compared to the other two movies in this conversation is that it caters to a specific movie-going audience. So when you look at movies like Batman and Top Gun, it's a blockbuster. It can pretty much appeal to any crowd, but Everything Everywhere All at Once is an A24 movie, and they have a specific audience. So while they both made, like you said, 4 times more than all of these movies' budgets, Everything Everywhere All at Once it maybe could be a bit off-putting to people that want something a bit more, I guess, palatable for just the average moviegoer. And then Top Gun Maverick, you could kind of say a similar thing, but a little different, because you have a specific audience that this movie drew back to the theaters, which were and some older generations, because it was a movie that they liked more. And so a lot of people in our generation may not have seen Top Gun and then watched it right before the new one, went to go see it. But it's a movie that will always be defined by the original and not as the sequel. But then Batman is, since it's a new iteration, it's a movie that kind of stands out on its own. It didn't have anything that, no story preceded it or anything, and it stands out.
Okay, well, I need to get to the Batman because none of us have talked about the Batman
Yeah, same.
yet.
I was about to, as well.
But just hit back against a couple of your Everything Everywhere criticisms, calling like the Rock scene and I don't know, maybe some other things like the Raccoonie modes as like just 1 second pointless gags is like really, really reducing what the film's all about, because what the film's all about is mining profundity from stupidity, which is kind of what life is all about. We're all a bunch of small, stupid pieces of shit floating around on a rock, not knowing what we're doing, not doing anything particularly important each day. So why not look at a couple of rocks and be able to see ourselves in that and see ourselves in the smallness? Just like the Raccoonie, you go with a stupid raccoon, we find little things to cling to in life that keeps us going. And that films like this that speak to those personal issues are the kinds of films that keep me going. And specific audience, it's an A24 movie. It's A24's highest grossing movie. It really is like breaking the mold of an A24 movie with the Batman. In terms of it like standing on its own, because it's not pulling from anything, it's mystery. I mean, it's like it's Batman does Seven. It's Batman does Zodiac. I know Batman's a detective, and it's great seeing him be a detective on film. But oh, sorry.
I was disconnected for like a minute just now. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I didn't say much about your movie, so I think you're okay. But on the Batman, the mystery stuff, it's kind of, there's so much stuff shoved in there, and not in sort of like a cohesive way, and that Everything Everywhere is just, it's all going towards the one narrative, where it's the Batman, it's like we've got the detective stuff, but it's kind of, the mystery's kind of glossed over. There's not much for us to follow in terms of the mystery. It's just Batman finding a clue, solving it immediately before we really have time to chew on it. We know the Riddler's the murderer, so there's not really that much of a mystery to it. It strikes the tone of a mystery noir, but it still has the sort of shallowness and simplicity of a comic book film.
Jacob, for back to Everything Everywhere at Once, you mentioned that people, we see ourselves as pieces of shit, but I think this is not what movies are supposed to be about. Like, movies are supposed to motivate you and inspire you and see that you are bigger than yourself, you're capable of doing things and achieving
exactly
stuff.
what that film does.
No,
but the whole message.
But then you're saying that back to that part about the rocks, that you're we're this, we're that. It's contrary to what you're saying, because you said
it's saying we perceive ourselves that way, but we're actually bigger than that, and we should believe in ourselves to see the entire universe.
Yeah, but at the same time, you also brought back to Batman how it narrows on how your movie narrows down on one thing, but I think it's on the contrary, it just expands on 10,000 things. And while the themes are there, the main thing of it all, like, they don't necessarily hit the viewer maybe in the same way as, for example, Top Gun. It has one direction to motivate you, inspire you, that kind of stuff. And for example, I'm not even an American, but Americans probably would love it because it's a highly patriotic movie, and they didn't name a country there, but we all know what country it is. I'm from that country. But to go to Batman, while I did love it, I watched it twice in the cinema. What I think is a big issue with it is, I think a lot of people that I know found it a bit too long. Like, there are moments that kind of feel like a drag, even though I loved it wholeheartedly, but it does feel like it drags at times, where it could have, done a bit of things better. Secondly, it portrays itself as highly realistic through groundedness and all whatnot, the suit, the makeup, whatever. But at the same time, there's like the scene I will never forget is when he falls off the glider and breaks nearly every single bone in his body, and then he doesn't even lie around. I get he's Batman, but he's not wearing some super mega suit, he just walks up and goes away. And finally, I think for Pattinson, while people praised him a lot, I think he can be not the perfect choice for this role, because he's just too skinny. Like, they showed the scene, if they wouldn't have shown him naked, topless, whatever, it would have been more mysterious. But when they show him and he's such a skinny, thin guy, and we're supposed to like imagine ourselves that he's beating everyone up left, right, center, the way Christian Bale was doing, but Bale was a massive machine, and that was believable. But at the same time, when we don't see Pattinson like that, he even struggling to push a table, for God's sake.
So okay, I guess I kind of gotta hit everything here. So Everything Everywhere All at Once. I agree with Nikita how it he says it tackles too many things, and then at the same time, I think it also kind of repeats the same jokes. Where, like, for example, you look at the hot dogs for fingers, they kept doing it over and over and over. And like, maybe the first time it was funny, and then it's like, okay, now I just feel like I'm watching the same joke happen over and over and over. And then the donut, all that kind of thing. I felt like they were running out of ideas. And then with in the third act. There's just a constant repetition of everything we've already seen because it's a very specific form of humor, and there's a chunk of people out there that don't really care for that form of humor. I don't think it will hold up over time as the greatest movie of 2022. And then with the Batman, I think the problem with, not the problem, but to address your problem with Robert Pattinson as Batman, I think the interesting thing about the character and that he brings to the role is that they had to do something different. They had to do a different form of Bruce Wayne, somebody who wasn't entirely developed as the Bruce Wayne that we know. And so to kind of strip him down from maybe the strength that we know, or from the how collected Batman usually is, how in check he is. This was a guy who was more full of rage and vengeance, and somebody that hadn't quite figured out how to be Batman yet. So to have somebody that's not quite as strong, not quite as, buff as you say, then I don't really think I think that fits for this particular iteration.
I just want to say about the humor real quick, like about how that humor doesn't appeal to everyone. You can't really say that in a blanket way because it's about how it's used in the film. For example, Swiss Army Man, that film got a pretty lukewarm reception. It was the Daniels' previous film. Most people are like, yeah, I don't know, it was a bit much for me. It was a bit weird. But look at the amount of people who love Everything Everywhere is just absolutely dwarfed the amount of people who love Swiss Army Man. So it has really won over a lot of people.
But Jacob, at the same time, it's the excessiveness of these symbols. As McNeil said, there's just so much is happening, and maybe there are themes and messages, but they just get lost between the hot dog fingers, and whatever, the donuts and bagels. But at the same time, it's also with the playing with the legs. It felt like one of those little Nicky Adam Sandler movies, or one of those scary movie parodies when they use the effects. Like, these things, these elements, like playing with the legs on the piano or having the raccoon or whatever the name is, had these, like,
thank you.
My bad. Yeah. I mean, the Ratatouille is jealous. So the thing is, it's just what I was saying. These special effects, as I read that this team learned themselves how to make the effects, and the effects were amazing. But at the same time, these little slip-ups became excessive for Batman. While I understand that it's more about let's say, Batman learning how to become the detective and whatnot, and he should not be buff. But at the same time, then let him use his gadgets more. He used once the taser, and boom, that's all we've seen of a single gadget that Batman uses.
I think he used a lot of gadgets though. Like he had the grapple hook, he had the contact lenses that he used.
But in the fights, I mean, the fighting gadgets, not the surveillance. These were very cool. The lens was amazing. But during the fights themselves, we saw the taser in the first fight, and the rest is all punch, punch, punch. And
but
he gets shotgun blast to the chest and nothing. And then next scene, he gets shotgun blast to the chest. He's on the ground injecting steroids into him.
But if somebody's full of rage and vengeance, do you not think they would want to use more physical combat I guess as a, I don't know, as a way to just kind of get it out versus
but hence the contradiction. Hence the contradiction. Like, he cannot be rageful. Like, he can be rageful, of course, it's an emotion, but he cannot express it through strength because he does not possess it as the other Batman do.
What I was trying to say about the Batman, about it being like, you're saying my film has too much shoved in together, but at least it all coheres. With the Batman, it's like you've got three different villains all off on different paths. It's like, and we don't really get to explore Gotham. They do this great world building and they set up like what's probably the best Gotham City yet, but we don't really get to see much of just Batman as Batman fighting crime. We jump straight into the mystery narrative. We jump straight into all these like diverging plot threads and villains and everything. So it's a film that's more about tone than narrative and character, and it's a really, really great tone. But there's not as much depth as it would like you to think.
All right, great job, guys. Now we're just gonna reconvene. So for Jacob, we really like this argument. We didn't think it reached the heights of your opening argument, but we did like your commentary and rebuttal on specifically the rock stuff and all the commentary that Everything Everywhere has within its themes. Nikita, we thought yours was really shaky. Your points on Batman we thought were really picky and kind of weak about the skinny kind of part about Robert Pattinson's Batman, as well as kind of the aspects about him falling on the ground and breaking bones and getting shot. We just thought that was a bit nitpicky and not completely 100% relevant to the overall quality of the film. And then McNeil, we thought that your argument was very good, better than your opening argument. We thought that your rebuts defending the Batman were very good. The score as of right now heading into round 3 are as follows. Jacob still in the lead at 15.9. McNeil climbs a bit. So he is at 15.5. And then Nikita at the bottom at 13.7 as we head now to the closing argument.
Top Gun, what makes it good, and I think the best film so far, is that it brought people to the cinema for something other than a superhero or a franchise movie, which is honestly an admirable thing on behalf from the whole team that made the film. And of course, Tom Cruise himself, who received the award at the Cannes Festival for his lifetime achievement. And he was there front and center, flying those airplanes. And then the filming of it all, you know, the IMAX inside the cockpit, you could feel, you know, that your breath, you're catching your breath, and they're gasping and grunting, and as if you're with them there, with them in the plane. And that, I think, adds that connection for the audience to the film, and of course the action sequences. And that being said, they paid a nice homage to the Iceman, how they brought them, even though he was sick, and they still could manage to make a scene.
All right. Well, I think the Batman stands out from any other movie this year for all the reasons I said before, but I think it also draws inspiration from mysteries and thrillers that we know and love from the past, such as Seven and Zodiac and all those good movies. And then I think it also stands out from the other movies we've talked about today because it doesn't rely on any prior knowledge from a story told previously, and it doesn't rely on a particular taste that may be off-putting or a form of humor that maybe some people aren't into, because that is the most subjective genre of any genre of film. So I think because of that, Batman stands out from the other two, and I think it's going to be hard for anything to top the Batman this year.
No one could really say anything about Everything Everywhere besides the humor, which again is really a subjective thing in only one part of the film because it is so dramatic as well as its comedy. It has great performances from Michelle Yeoh and Ke Huy Quan. Ke Huy Quan, it brought him back to acting, and Michelle Yeoh said it's the role she's been dreaming of for her entire career. And I'll say The Batman and Top Gun, they're both films that love their source material and do a brilliant job of bringing it to life. But Everything Everywhere is a film that loves cinema, and it loves you as an audience member. It is a warm hug of a film that wraps their arms around you. And while those two other films are really, really fun, they don't really help you see the world in another way. And it's a film that just, it gives you so much to look forward to. There's always something to love.
Very good closing arguments, everyone. We'll start with Nikita first. Nikita, this is probably your best of the day, but unfortunately, it's probably too little too late for you. Your connection to the movie didn't feel as personal like for the other individuals in the match. And we also feel that if you maybe chose another movie that you loved, like The Northman, you would have had a better understanding of the film compared to Top Gun, where we feel you're kind of reiterating the same points again. McNeil, we really liked the point. And your subtle kind of fire shot backs at Everything Everywhere as well. We just thought it was a bit too short. You still had 20 seconds left on the clock, and we just felt like there was more substance there that could have been found. For Jacob, we really liked it as well. A lot of substance series. We just felt that there was a bit of too much of why is this movie good for me compared to why it might be good for the wider audience. But at the end of the day, we had a definitive winner. We did not have a tie. And your winner, and the new CINEMAWARS champion of the world, Jacob the Package Cunningham. The final score being 23.9 to 23.4, 21.2.
All right. I just want to congratulate my opponent. I have nothing but love for both of these guys. And Nikita, I'm always terrified of playing him in CINEMAWARS. And McNeil, you really had me sweating there. Like, I had no idea how that ending was going to go. And as always, pick your favorite movie, Nikita. Pick the one you love the most, and you'll be able to pull the most from it. But The 5 Angry Men, we are back this season. I heard a lot of talk in the preseason that maybe we weren't going to do so well, or we weren't going to be able to repeat it. But we're sitting pretty early, and I'm very, very glad to have done this and to have a belt finally in the league.
But I know there's one person who wanted to talk to you, somebody who's actually never faced you in a match before, who has talked to me that he actually wants to challenge you, that he wants to face you. He's taken a break from CINEMAWARS for a long time, but I think he's ready to be back. You guys haven't seen him in a long time, but he's here. It's the great
Hi there.
Why do you have a vacuum behind you?
Because I'm going to clean you out on the next time we meet.
All right.
That's how we roll.
I was wondering when you were going to pop up.
Yeah, because you've been playing all these guys, but you never play the best. So it's time to play the best now. So I'm challenging you now for a match. I don't know, anytime, anywhere.
Whoa.
Anytime, anywhere, all at
Challenge
once.
on our hands.
Anytime, anywhere, you can pick like the question. You can do whatever you want because
I don't even
I
need
will,
that. I'm not
I
afraid.
will still win. You're gonna go
And-
down under where you belong.
Wow. Folks, it just seems like we've gotten a challenge on our hands. The best of all time on YOLO has challenged the current CINEMAWARS champion, Jacob, for his title.
Jacob is in a bad situation because first I won his title, and then I just want to humiliate Gall anytime I can. So he's gonna get it, and
Wow.
like, he's sorry, guy. I'm just gonna go after you because Gall. I have something to deal with Gall, and it's time for him to get some humility.
All right, folks. So there it is. Jacob has been challenged.
So
Nikita?
who's talking? Okay, no, I just want to congratulate Jacob. I mean, excellent win. I mean, as he said, I should have gone with what I loved instead of going with what people love. Fuck the people. You know what? We gotta go with what we like.
Yeah, I thought they both did great. I was really certain after the conclusions that Jacob was going to win. He did a great job there.
Excellent movie as well, sir. Love the Batman. Watched it twice in the cinema. I mean, the
I've
only
seen
thing
it
I watched
4
twice
times,
this year in
dude.
the cinema. Yeah, wow.
All right, guys. So that will end it for the CINEMAWARS matchup. Make sure to tell us in the comments below. What did you think of the arguments from these 3 amazing competitors? What did you think was the best movie of 2022? Look out for the next CINEMAWARS video coming to you right away as Jacob, the Package Cunningham, defends his title against Big J of Agnolo with another cinema-related prompt for all you to kind of dive into. Now, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like the video. Like I said, comment down below. Follow and subscribe to all these people's accounts on Instagram and YouTube. And as always, ciao.